Hi everyone, it's Viki and I'm joined by one of our graduates, Simonetta. We're going through a little tutorial for you. So as Simonetta is learning, you're going to learn as well how to use certain coaching exercises with clients virtually who cannot print out the exercises or who don't know how, or maybe you don't know how to either draw on the actual document graphics or fill it in. As you can see, I've got the Wheel of Life in front of me. It's a plain one. And this particular plain version can be used for anything. So it doesn't necessarily need to be changed into life areas like we do in the course Simonetta. So we could actually use with a client this particular template of a wheel for any aspect of what they wanted to work on. So your niche, choose something that we could use this wheel for that might be helpful for a client for you, Simonetta, and we'll use that as our example.
Maybe we can also use the concept of change, accepting changes in their lives and struggling with changes.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll use that concept. So what I'd like to do, say, for example, you are on a WhatsApp call or a Zoom call. Now with Zoom calls, you can, of course, share your screen. So what that means is you could have the exercise up in front of you and you could share that with your client on the other end of their computer. So they don't need to be able to open the document to write on it or try and type in it or even print it out to write on it. You can actually do this exercise visually with them in your session using your screen share, and you're basically completing the typing part of it for them, but they're the ones doing the work, coming up with the ideas and telling you what it is that they want to put in this exercise. So the beauty of doing this is that they can visually see the exercise as it's evolving, as you're asking questions and as you're doing the exploring of the aspects of that exercise. And then you both get to have a copy. You get to save it, put it in your client folder, and then email it to them after. So what I like to do if I'm doing something like this is I like to put the client name up the top. And then I also like to put the date. And the reason I put the date there for Simonetta is because if I'm doing an exercise like this with a client that I might want to revisit in a month or 2 months down the track, and I want to touch base and see how are those aspects of that area of their life or that change that they're trying to make, how is that progressing? How does it look now in comparison to the first time that we looked at it? Just to see the difference. So it's a really good visual aid when you're working with clients to show them their progress visually on paper from where they started, because often they've been doing the work, they get down the road, things are easier, the change is starting to happen. And when they look back at their original exercise, it really gives them confirmation of how far they have come, how far they have traveled, and how differently they feel having made those changes to how they did feel when they started. And that's a great measure of how valuable the coaching process can be for them. So I like to put these dates up here so that I can have that in their folder, and then I can do a new one if we check in later on to compare them. So all I've done here is I've just put the PNG of this template of the Wheel of Life into the Word document in landscape. So to write on it in Word, we go up the top here and we go to draw. So we click on draw and you can see we've got different tips and different colors. We can erase things if we make a mistake, and we can draw. So we can also add different types of pen, highlighter, or pencil. So it depends on what you like to use. So let's just start with a pen. And I'm going to write something here. So this Simonetta is where I'd like to challenge you in how you would be working with your clients. So if we're talking about the topic of change, what would be an aspect of change that you would be wanting to utilize in a session with your clients in your niche? So in other words, how would we be using this exercise effectively for your type of coaching client?
So I would maybe, according to the client's need, I would either have already prepared by myself, so I have already a structure, or if I need to improvise, let's presume that is a person who's struggling, I don't know, with a career change or something where this person feels stuck. So I may write down things like
and this is how a lot of coaches are going to feel if they take on the pressure and responsibility of completing this before their client has a chance to. So this is where you might ask your client, okay, if we had to break down the challenges about making this change of career, what might they be? So instead of you having to figure out what am I going to put around this exercise and prepare in advance, you don't need to prepare in advance. If you have this exercise, that's your preparation. So the exploration in the session is actually asking the client to identify the challenges that maybe oppose their change. You could look at the pros and the cons. So that means that you could do a duplicate of this wheel. And this first one could be the pros of changing, or maybe starting with the cons, that would be good.
Yeah.
If you use one as an example of what are the cons, what are the challenges here, what are the things that you're not sure of that might not work if you made this career change, or that you need to worry about. And then the next one on the next page could be, well, what are the positives? What are the pros of making this change? And how would it benefit you? How would it change your life for the better? So let's explore, let's use that. So this one, and excuse my writing with my mouse. I'm doing a finger mouse pad here. So if these are the cons, what might they be? So the downside of changing the career, or the challenges to changing the career. It might be not knowing what the new career is. So being unsure. So let's put here, and this is how you would fill it in. And you might have a pen. If you have a pen, I do have one, but it's not with me. So they might be unsure of the new career. They want to change career, but they're not sure, well, what am I going to change it to? So that gives you a clue on, okay, maybe we need to explore their previous experience, their qualifications, their training, what they personally have gone through and know a lot about, to try and figure out and help them find a clarity around what might be a potential new career. So Simonetta, I'm going to ask you, what do you think in this situation that you've given me, a client who wants to make a change in career, and we're looking at the cons, what do you think might be a challenge or something that they might be worried about alongside, well, I don't even know what new career I could do. What else might they be worried about?
Fear of not earning enough money.
Right, so money
issues.
Yep.
And another one could be relationship with colleagues.
Yeah, definitely.
Working environment.
That could be a reason that they want to leave their job, because the relationship with the colleagues aren't so great.
Yeah. And also not
much better. We're doing well. Okay, what's another one did you say?
It could be also not be worthy, not being enough, not knowing enough, not be suitable for the new job.
So
self-confidence.
I put self-esteem there.
Self-esteem, yes.
Maybe the job that they're in has really diminished or challenged their confidence.
Yeah.
And it's because of this job that they feel their confidence has dropped, that they want to regain it. So that's something to explore as well. So we've got a good, we don't need to do the full exercise here, but it's really good to actually see how this can start to fill itself out, where you're working with a client and you're asking the questions, they're doing the work, they're doing the thinking. Just like when I asked you there, what would some more be? You gave me a couple of things. And once you start to think about it a little bit, it becomes easier to think of some more, doesn't it? Because the first one was a little bit tricky, but then once you got started, the money and the relationships with work, the confidence, self-esteem, that started to come a lot quicker. And likely that will be the same for your client. So let's say, for example, that you did this, you filled it all in. And then you wanted to go and have a look at what are the positives? What are the positives of making this change? So you would do the pros. Now I've just got another one here, spare separate. But what we could do is we could just simply add another plain wheel. Just drop it there. Make it a little bit bigger if you want to. And then you've got one ready for the pros. So over here, I'm going to add pen. And I might make this a red color just to differentiate it. Okay, so then you would ask your client, all right, well, now that we've identified the challenges and maybe the reasons that might hold you back from making this career change, let's have a look at the benefits. Let's have a look at the positives of what would you be able to accomplish or experience or achieve or feel if you did make this career change, so that they're really getting to look at it from both sides. And remember, if you were doing this virtually, this is a visual aid that you're using with your clients, so they can actually see their answers come to life on the screen in front of you, so then you can start to explore them. Now, even though this is a traditional wheel of life where it's got 0 in the center and 10 up here, what you could do, and there's many ways to use this exercise, but what you could do is after you've identified the cons, and maybe after you've identified the pros, but I'd probably stick with the same exercise and complete it before moving on to a different version, is you might actually ask the client, okay, out of 0 to 10, how unsure are you feeling about a new career? Like, do you have some idea of what you might want to do? So then you'd get them to score it. They might be like, well, I do have some ideas, but I'm kind of really stuck on where to start with what I could do instead of this career. So I'd say maybe a 6, because I've got some idea, but mostly I'm pretty unsure. Okay. And then you could use that scoring system around the circle. And what that means is, let's say, for example, they're really worried about money. The relationships in the workplace are toxic, so that's really high. Self-esteem, they're maybe about a 7. I know I could feel more confident. I'm confident in what I can do. I just don't feel confident in that workplace when I go there because, I don't have a very supportive boss or co-workers, or I feel like I'm doing a lot of the work and carrying some of my co-workers, and it's not very fair. And that's what diminishes the confidence. So there might be varying degrees. So then what you could do is, once this is complete, you could ask them, and remember, they might not come up with this many, but you've got this many if they really want to exhaust it with you. What you do from this point, once you've identified the challenges, you've scored the severity of how much they're impacting out of 10 the client at the moment about making this change that they really want to make. And then you could ask them, okay, which of these ones, now that you can see them on the page, you can see how much they're impacting you, which ones do you feel ready to challenge? Or which ones do you feel ready to do something about? So it gives you, the coach, the direction then, guided by the client, on where do we start here exploring how we can overcome some of these objections or worries for the client in helping them make some positive change that they actually want. So then you could just stay with that exercise for the majority of the session and really discuss the options around how can they deal with the relationships at work better that might actually reduce the intensity of how much they impact the person while they're at work. If they had more satisfaction at work, if they felt more appreciated at work, if they got on better with their co-workers at work, how much more would that improve their ability to go to work, and would they still want to leave that job and do a different career? So if we can help re-engage their passion, then they can reassess for themselves. Actually, it's been a few weeks now. We've worked on improving my attitude and my mindset to work. We've worked on me feeling confident to speak up to my team leader about the work that I'm doing and being valued for it instead of other people taking the credit. So I'm actually feeling more appreciated. I'm feeling a little bit more positive about going to work. I'm enjoying my work a lot more. And that's just because of the work that you isolate just with this exercise, looking at the cons and then starting to help the client improve these aspects of this change. So that might come out of it. but then it also might highlight to the client, that's exactly the reason why I need to get out of this job.
Exactly.
So it helps you then prepare to move forward. Okay, so what we need to do, the lowest scoring here is the uncertainty, being unsure of, well, what new direction do I take? So that then might become the most important aspect to work with the client on, about looking at and exploring the options available to them. So you can see that this could go so many different ways, Simonetta. This could really be a couple of sessions worth of exploration, planning, testing, and really seeing what's evolving for the client. Do they still feel the same way a few weeks or a month later, that this is definitely what they want to do, and now they're even more certain that this is what they want to do because they have an idea of how that's going to look and feel like with the ideas you've come up with about what they could do instead. There's so many different ways to explore this. So this is just a really great way that you can provide a visual representation for the client while they're internalizing their ideas and their thoughts and their feelings, and then articulating them to you and feeling into them where necessary, so that you can then visually put it on the page when you're working with them virtually. This way, they don't need a printer to print anything out. They don't need to be writing stuff out that you can't see. You're actually both able to see the screen at the same time, and you're able to do some fantastic work together virtually in your session.
Beautiful.
So does that sound like something that you would use in your sessions?
Absolutely. This is why before I was a bit discouraged to use these forms. But now I need to see the technical part of them. So how can I use the pens and stuff like that? But other than this, I would use them much more for sure.
Wonderful. The way to use these in Word up here with Draw is just simply to click on what you'd like to use, and you can, you can do all kinds of things if your finger and mouse will, allow you to make it somewhat make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so much useful for me because some of my clients were not really available to do that. I felt that they were not much interested, or they were a bit discouraged because they either have, I don't know, problems with printing and stuff like that. But this is a good idea. Good idea.
And because you told me then, and people watching won't know this, but before we started recording here, because you told me that a lot of your clients are in Italy, they're in a different country. So you've really got to rely on emailing a lot of the exercises and things that you would like them to see. And what you could do is you could email them ahead of the session, or even during the session. I've done that many, many times, where it's become apparent that a particular exercise I have might be very, very helpful for my client in the discussion that we're having, so that they can visually see it and make more sense of it. So what I've done is I've emailed it to them immediately while we're in the session. And I've asked them to just simply open that exercise so they can see it, and maybe they can see the example that I've given there. And then on the screen, I can open a brand new one, I can screen share, and we can go through that together.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Nobody needs them to have to, you don't need them to take on the responsibility of teaching your client how to use something like this on their computer. You are making it easy, seamless, and accessible for them to still participate in these valuable exercises that you get to facilitate and do on your end with a little bit of a know-how. Once you've done it a couple of times, it becomes very easy to facilitate working with a client like this on screen and being able to put it up on the screen. And, the reason why we did this, everybody, is because Simonetta said sometimes her internet drops out and Zoom won't work, and the only way she can work with a client is via WhatsApp. And of course, with WhatsApp or even Facebook Messenger video, you can't screen share. So this is why this example, this little tutorial and discussion of how you could use this in this way is so valuable, and why we decided to share this with you, because you can actually put this up on the screen and you can do it with your client. Even if you can't screen share, if they can video, if they can see you with your printed version on your side and you're filling it out for them, you're holding it up, you're showing them their answers, but you've emailed them the exercise ahead of time so that they can open it on their screen, they're still seeing the exercise in its full visual. But if you've got a printed version on your side, you can fill it in for them. And again, they don't need to print it out. They don't need to worry about making it editable if it's not. And the reason we chose this exercise is because although quite a few of the exercises in the coaching toolkit are editable, these ones are a little bit harder to make editable unless we put some boxes in on the side and made them into paragraph editable text. So this is just another way to work with your clients using exercises when it's a little bit hard for them to type on it or to print it out.
And also a couple of clients of mine are more than 70 years old. And even though they are very good with technology, but they're not able to work in these details. And I also struggle, so I can't expect them to do it. So that's a big help that you've given me, Viki. Thank you very much.
That's a great point too, that some of your clients, regardless of their age, just may not, for whatever reason, have learned any of this before to know how to do it on their end. So
I also struggle with them.
Yeah, this way you do it for them and you make it as easy for your client as possible to still get the benefits. So I hope that tutorial is very helpful, and some of the examples that we came up with there on how you could use a wheel of life for a different aspect rather than just looking at life areas. You can use it for any challenge that your client comes with to really narrow down the different facets of that challenge for them and the things that are bothering them most and which ones then would they like to do something about first. And that's just utilizing the wheel and the numbering system for severity of intenseness, of intensity of how much it bothers them, how much stress it causes them, or how much of a priority it is for them. It's a really great way to use that scoring system. You can use it for all kinds of different questions to get your clients to score for you. So there you have it, a little tutorial on how to use coaching exercises virtually.